Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video I'm going to give you 5 differential players, 5 players that are less than 5% owned by the FPL community. Players that could make a big difference in your mini leagues, your overall rank. I'm going to give you the pros, the cons of these players. Let's have a look at them. Let's just jump into it with one of my favourite players on this list, JARROD BOWEN, 6.3, really cheap, only owned by 2%. Obviously he's playing in midfield for West Ham. Looking at his stats so far this season, he's scored twice, he's got 6 assists, his expected goal involvement 0.59, that's pretty decent. He's started every game this season for West Ham, that surprised me. 11 appearances he's made, his shots 2.49 per 90 minutes is decent, that looks good. Wolves he's got next, then he's got a tricky game against Man City, then you've got Chelsea sandwiched sort of either side of the Brighton-Burnley game, then Arsenal. But look at those fixtures. These are the fixtures that line up all the way until Christmas. They look really good. Norwich, Southampton at home, Watford, Chelsea, Leeds. We know how well West Ham have been performing anyway this season. They seem free-flowing, can score against pretty much everyone. 6.3, 2% owned. What a differential he could be. Great things about Bowen, played every game, that looks brilliant. He is on some set pieces, he picked up an assist against Liverpool, cheap at 6.3, I don't think we can argue that. He could also add to that he's playing in a very attacking, free-scoring West Ham side, so just being a part of that side at the moment at 6.3 is appealing. On the downside, the short-term fixtures don't look great. I've put nailed on as a question mark and rotation as a question mark. Europa League, could he be involved in rotation with that? Will they take it more seriously later on? That may be more of a medium to longer term view you might be worried about. Nailed on. I do feel with you've got Benrahma, Antonio Fornals playing up front as well in that attacking roles for West Ham. If form was to dip, if changes were to be made, Vlasic maybe or Yarmolenko suddenly become in favour, would Bowen be one of those ones that would be taken out? I feel like he's possibly one of those ones at the firing line that would be taken out. But for the price, 6.3, a nailed-on player in that West Ham side at the moment, making contributions, 8 contributions, 11 games, might not be all the goals you want, but 6.3, I think he looks like a really good option. Next up we have ILKAY, GUNDOGAN, 7.2 million, playing in midfield for Manchester City. Only 2.5% of managers owe him. That's really low. He's only just come back from injury, so he hasn't played all 7 games. He started the season playing for Manchester City. He's only came back Manchester United. He had a substitute appearance before that. He's got 7 appearances under his belt. 2 goals, no assists. XGI is still excellent at 0.68. Shots per 90 minute looks good as well, 2.41. Looking at those medium to short-term fixtures, right, you got Everton at home. You could argue that's a green. West Ham at home. Difficult game. Villa, we don't really know what they're going to be like. Then you've got that sea of greens up until Christmas. Watford, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle, then Leicester, Brentford. That looks like a great set of fixtures. We know Manchester City, you could argue, are fixture-proof in any case. They can score goals and beat anyone. ILKAY, Gundogan we've seen from last season can be so explosive. He plays for Man City. That's got to be a tick for the fact that they score against anyone. Pep loves him. We know how effective he was when he was pushed further forward by Pep last year, and he gets forward. We've just put out great fixtures in the medium term. 7.2 for a Manchester City midfielder. If he continues to play, and there's no reason to suggest why he wouldn't, what a great asset. If he could repeat just 80% of what he did last year in that run, then you would be happy at 7.2. The risks, rotation, we know Manchester City, no player is completely proof from rotation. He isn't the cheapest option. I wouldn't say he's the most expensive. And I've also put KDB. When Gundogan was at his best last year and getting all those returns, it was in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne when he was pushing forward more. KDB's in the side at the moment. So will Gundogan be as effective? I think we've got to temper that with the price at just 7.2. I think at 7.2 he could be a really good option. Again, for just 2.5% owned, a Manchester City player, I will definitely be watching him closely to see if he gets the minutes. And if he does, he could be one that comes into my side. Next we have BRYAN MBEUMO. He's been a player that's been talked about to death in the FPL community even before the season started. He was a midfielder playing up front, nailed on for Brentford, and it was always a case of how are they getting on. Could we risk bringing him in or not? 5.6 million. He is super cheap. That is brilliant. He's only owned by 4.5% of managers. The main reason for that, I believe, is that he would definitely have been in sooner and higher owned had he not have picked up a knock and was a doubt a couple of game weeks ago when Brentford's fixtures looked really good. They still look decent. They got Newcastle away, then Everton, Tottenham, Leeds, and another game you target as well, Watford. 5.6, like I said, really cheap. Only got 2 goals, but he does get the midfield sort of extra points for those goals. No assists. XGI is decent. It's okay at 0.5. You have to bear in mind his price. So again, marrying that up with that, he looks still good value. 10 appearances, he's still nailed on when he's fit. 2.5 shots per 90 minutes. That is decent as well. Just looking at him, he's cheap. We know he's nailed on and he's playing up front. The big issue with him, I think, is just a form of both him not scoring enough goals and of Brentford in general, losing the last couple of games, including that Norwich at home fixture. Only 2 goals out of form. That puts a real dampener. And I also think the emergence of Smith Rowe and of Gallagher coming through at a similar price means that they just appear to be better options. But as a differential, he could still be worth a punt and come good for Brentford. Next up then we have Leandro Trossard of Brighton, 6.4, ownership 2.4%, very low once again. 3 goals, 1 assist this season. XGI 0.28, wouldn't say that's the greatest XGI you can get. He's played every single game this season's really encouraging, 11 appearances, that surprised me when I looked into him. 2.9 shots per 90 minutes, he's high as well. His fixtures up until the new year, a real mixed bag. You've got some tough games there, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, but then there's other games that are obviously in green. You've got the Brentford, the Wolves, Southampton, Leeds. So I wouldn't be a player that I would be sort of set and forget. He would be hitting the bench on occasion, I think, in those fixtures. But there's some of those games I would definitely want to target. Plus side on him, 6.4. He's cheap, so I don't mind benching him every now and then. He looks absolutely nailed in that Brighton side. He's playing 90 minutes most games, and he does play up front. So we know we love to have a midfielder who's playing up front in FPL. He just gets more bonus points, and he gets obviously those more points for scoring goals. Downside, he has got a low XGI. I think that's possibly down to the fact Brighton only scored 12 goals in 11 games, so they're just not very free scoring. But if they do score, Trossard's highly likely to be involved. Fixtures up and down, they don't look all great, they don't all that bad. You'd have to target some of them. I will be one I think I'll just be keeping an eye on in a moment, perhaps not prepared to commit myself yet onto him. I've left the most controversial one till last, Andy Robertson. He's been completely overlooked in terms of FPL managers. 2.1% owned, hardly anyone's got him. 7 million, he is expensive, so let's not hide away from that. Why would we bother to even look at him? One of the reasons I think is those fixtures. Look how good they are. Southampton at home, I mean, quite frankly, I'm not even going to go through them. Up till Christmas, they look brilliant for Liverpool. He is just... It almost argue Liverpool fixture proof looking at that as well. They could play anyone and score or keep a clean sheet, as we've seen at Old Trafford. He's only got 1 assist this season, so he's well down on his contribution last year. Trent and him at one time were very much hand in hand, but at the moment you would have to say Trent is a much preferable option. But for the price per Trent going up, Robertson, there's a bit of a gap now. Is it worth dropping down to Robertson? He's made 8 appearances, shed a little bit of time with Simicast, especially when he's been injured. 3 clean sheets. Not great in terms of shots at goal, 7 million. So why go for him? He is cheaper. He is nailed on. He has got great fixtures. The problem, I think, with Robertson is that his attacking threat has certainly gone down. His price is still expensive, and there are better options. You've got Chilwell and James. But if you double up on Chilwell and James, or have a Rudiger, or don't want to go any further with that Chelsea defence because you've got Chelsea 3 players, or even Man City, he is an alternative, and no one else has got him. So that's the one thing that Robertson does have in his favour. Remembering it's only been a snapshot, a sort of straw poll this season of fixtures that he's been involved in. Over the longer period, he has got much better returns in the past. So you can't really rule him out. He is cheaper than Trent. That's his biggest asset, I think. He's one I would take a look on. As a punt, I'm not entirely convinced, but I think he is worth having just this conversation about. Don't forget, guys, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching and your continued support. Really enjoyed putting these together and looking at some of these players. Look out for more watch list players, team selection videos coming up. In the meantime, have a great time and I'll speak to you soon.